Hello everyone, welcome back to the RaceRoom Super Touring Championship and the absolute memes that come with it. We've had so much fun the last couple of rounds of racing, and that fun is going to be turned up a little bit tonight because we're racing at AVUS, which is going to be so much fun and so much chaos. Of course, it's myself, Liz McGlade. Cam Roger has raced home from work just to be here once again, and yeah, we're going to have a bit of entertainment. Let's go with that.
Yeah, it's certainly worth the speedy drive home because this is such good fun. And this track, AVUS, for the first couple of races, is going to be absolutely bonkers. I'm sure you've seen a couple of things on social media going around from the drivers posting stories of this very interesting circuit, proper old school. And this is exactly the type of track that we brought this championship back for.
Yeah, and don't worry too much, by the way, if you have seen that video from the likes of Moritz Leder of them taking the chicane. They can't take it like that during this evening's competition, but we'll touch on that a little bit more once qualifying is underway, before we can kind of touch on where we've raced and what we'll be doing over the evening. So, of course, we have 3 races over the night, if you haven't joined us before. So we've got session 1, session 2, that's a qualifying session, followed by a 15-minute race, and then we'll be going to Zolder for race 3, which is a longer race. And that longer race, yeah, it's been quite different and almost a little bit calmer at points, Cam.
Yes, sometimes it has. Obviously, a bit longer. Different tracks, so I think people possibly practice slightly less for it, and especially for today, because Zolder, I mean, okay, fair enough, it's not the most used track in the world, but everyone kind of knows Zolder, they've driven it there, they know the rough layouts, whereas AVUS, not many people even know the layout. Okay, fair enough, it's got 3 corners.
It's pretty simple.
It's still, you don't have much knowledge on this track compared to others, so I think it is going to shake it up a little bit, and I say hopefully cool it down again then for the third race.
If you couldn't figure this track out, I'd be slightly concerned. It is quite small, but it does take a lot of bravery to actually get round the circuit. That is the important bit. But of course, the season that we've had thus far and where we've been has been very exciting. Of course, had Hockenheimring Classic and New, then Istria and Donington just a week ago. Now, of course, AVUS and Zolder. Next week, though, or next round, rather, we're going to Silverstone Classic and New. Like that, I do quite like doing the whole Classic and New.
Oh, definitely. It's pretty cool to have the sort of different various sort of layouts as such, but also just the different setting to have the different buildings, the different sort of colorways and stuff that we have at the certain tracks. So that's going to be a nice one at Silverstone next time out as well. And of course, Hockenheim to open the year is definitely pretty cool. The fact that sim racing can do that and you don't have to go with what is left out in the real world, because the older tracks are pretty cool.
Now, Luca Key has obviously been very busy, gave us the track guides of the previous circuits that we've been to, and tonight is no different. So let's take a little bit of a closer view as to the AVUS circuit and how it works.
Hey guys, and welcome to the third round here of the RSTC. We are at AVUS here for this round track. Yeah, really enjoyable track, really funny, especially in these cars. And as you already see, we are approaching turn 1, and shortly before the 100-meter pause, we go fully into the brakes, first gear, and of course the BMW is really good to do the rear wheel drive, and the rotation is pretty nice. And now we're following in the chicane, taking the series line here, and of course trying to get as close as possible to the curbs here without touching that, because that, yeah, basically puts you into the air, and you definitely don't have to drive with 2 wheels. Coming around for the only last corner, this really long left-hander, which was a banker corner really long time ago, and we enter pretty right from the outside and then take the shortest line possible through that whole corner, finishing already here that really short break. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I wish you good luck for the race, and see you next time.
almost as simple as it gets, and plenty exciting. Again, you can get hold of this yourself by jumping onto RaceRoom over on Steam, free download, and then getting yourselves in. And whilst we're talking about that, great time to get into it at the moment because we do have the summer sale going. And with that, there's also a couple of brand new packs as well for people to deal with. There is a summer sale, 50% off basically across the whole thing, which is always a bit of fun, but also 2 brand new packs to be dealing with as well. We do have the summer pack of 2025, and there is also the online racing pack as well, coming with various cars. That summer pack, if you want to try driving some of these cars, comes with the Super Tourings that we're racing in, as well as some GT3s as well. You can see there the online racing pack, got DTM cars, GT3, and also a bit of teaser. That's my neck of the woods, isn't it, Cam? Door banging people straight out of the way.
We won't talk about that. So yes, the TCRs, that's always a good fun one. Actually, it's something a little bit different as well, kind of like the Super Tourers. I like the fact that it's front wheel drive as well, which you're having quite a few of the cars that you're going to see tonight. It's a little bit of a different style of racing, and the fact that you can get elbows out is always good, because as much as we like no contact racing, that's always really clean and really precise, and in some ways more skillful, but it is cool when you get the elbows out and you have a little bit of argy-bargy as well.
Well, I think both myself and Cam are going to be very happy this evening, because if there's one thing that I can see a lot of on this field is Volvos, which makes me happy. Love the fridge. Cam's going to be happy, though, because we have a lot of the BMWs out there as well. A reminder as to the cars and to the BOP that is in effect here at AVUS. So a little bit of extra weight going into the Audi and the Alpha, which were kind of like, especially the Audi was the real choice a couple of weeks ago. Volvos, neither of them have any weight added to them. The E36 is 18 kilos added to it. Trust me, I could give you another 107 and jump in behind the wheel and try and chuck it over the high curbs around this circuit. No doubt as to which car we'd see Cam Roger in. Have seen a couple of Opals out there as well. So, I mean, that sounds better.
Yeah, absolutely. The Opel being a German brand, that'd be very nice to see around this circuit indeed. And to be honest, I do really like the sort of styling of that car as well. We come into qualifying, 5 minutes remaining. Who would have thought? But Bence Farkas up there at the front. But also Moritz Lerner, he's sort of improved a bit. He was struggling around the P10 area a couple of weeks ago. So that's a nice improvement for him. But yeah, as you say, it's basically BMWs and Volvos and a couple of other ones sprinkled in.
Yeah, obviously the likes of Ribeiro as well. A little bit further down, we'll touch on the championship standings very quickly after qualifying, I think. But whilst we're here in qualifying, and whilst you will have seen the track limits out on social media, we'll bring in Captain Coffee, of course, behind the scenes here in the RaceRoom Super Touring Championship, and with plenty of RaceRoom official events, to give us a bit of an update on what drivers can and realistically what they can't do when it comes to track limits around here. Chris, that whole stuff through the chicane, what's the dealio from race control?
Yeah, from our end we say it is not allowed. We did see something going on during the qualification on the competition leaderboards. Yeah, that really was on the edge, and we couldn't really punish people for doing that. The game allowed it, so even if they'd done it by accident, they would still set a faster lap time, and they cannot really reset themselves. But for the race, we will be closely monitoring during qualification and during the race. We will be post-stewarding. Anybody who cuts the track will get a penalty.
There we go. So they're not allowed to do it. Obviously, Captain Cover there. If you have any questions about RaceRoom, always a good person to ask. But also, we can drag him in at various points of this broadcast as well to answer any of your questions, as well as me and Cam may be giving it a good go. Although, don't trust our opinion. That's why we bring Chris in for that information, because he's a lot more trustworthy than either you or myself. Here we go, though. Ribeiro's gone fastest in the first sector, trying to close down on Bence Farkas at the top.
Absolutely, and of course we've got Lucas Müller here on the track. What another big name to jump into this series. So that's very nice to see him coming out on the grid, and let's see what he can do already up into P6. Ribeiro getting a couple of purple sectors as well. As ever, the time's so close up inside that top, what's that really, top 8, less than half a second, and 3 tenths for the top 6. So it's really going to be difficult out there. Ribeiro up towards the line. Of course, he had an amazing time back in Portugal in Estoril, and he goes straight to the top again.
Yeah, brilliant lap there from Ribeiro, the driver who currently sits second in the championship. He's in a BMW. This driver here, Bence Farkas, is in the Volvo. There was plenty of drama behind there going through the chicane. Farkas is tracking fast enough at the moment. Farkas has 148 points, playing Ribeiro's 144. You will note one of the drivers up there in the championship, Rob Wiesemüller, not in action here today, but obviously will be still hopefully taking part in next week, a couple of weeks away event, the next round of the championship, and of course the season finale. Up to the line, Bence Farkas, not good enough to improve, but 2 thousandths of a second now separates Ribeiro and Farkas in 2 different cars as well.
That is awesome to see. It's so close around here. And with being just a couple of corners, you don't really have much time, of course, to have much of a difference compared to your rival. So it's going to be so close even in the race. I mean, we've got a second covering the top 20. That is a really nice one indeed. And here's Andika Milana. He's been up there in quite a few races so far, generally around the P6 area and up towards the line. It's P6 again.
Yeah, indeed. Andika Milana, top 5 in the championship coming into this round. Lucas Muller's called an end to his session. I believe Bence Farkas has definitely called an end to his session, as is Villa Cravey. So a few drivers unable to improve. Enzo Filippo through the final corner. Is going to be any further improvements? Roland Sen, welcome to the championship. Also improving slightly. Enzo Filippo across the line remains in 8th position. Has enough time in the session, though, to complete that one final lap.
Certainly does. Short lap around here, so you can really get a load in this section. Here is Nats there coming through the chicane, choosing not to use any of the curb. We did see an E36 go up on 2 wheels earlier. That is the issue. Is really do or die move. You've got to commit how much you want to go over those curves, and if not, then you will be taking it quite a bit slower, but at least a bit more safely. As we had the German come around the final corner, got Percy jumping up into P10 there, the Italian.
Indeed, any further improvements? We've got quite a lot of green sectors coming in further down the order, and a couple of tenths improvement, and it's going to be a big move. Nats up there, Stanger up there, Hazelwood, who's getting a lot of support in chat, moves up into the top 10. Then Chari, Vinieri, 15th and 17th respectively. What can Lichtenhagen do? Not into the top 20, just 24th position. But it does seem as though Ribeiro is going to be on pole position for the first race this evening, but how close is it behind? Just 2 thousandths of a second.
And that's 2 of the biggest names in this championship up there at the front. That is what we like to see. 4 points separated in the championship and just 2 thousandths of a second on the track.
Yeah, indeed. Fantastic to see the top 2 in the championship, first and second. Cody Nikola Latkovsky also up there, which is great to see. Moritz Lerner as well in BMW, which we have seen him before in the championship in that car. Lloyd Biddulph as well up there. Right, Cam. Turn 1. How many's going? It's a tight corner. It is a tight corner.
What have we got? 30 odd cars on the grid. I reckon at least 2 cars inside the top 10. 2 cars inside the top 10, not making it out of turn 1.
I reckon it'll be all right, but someone is definitely getting pushed into the barrier on the inside. 100%. Here's an update on the championship standings, of course. This is coming into this round after the second round. So that's where you can see Bence Farkas has the 4-point lead over Ribeiro. Enzo Filippo, Lloyd Biddulph up there as well, 4th position. He's had a great season thus far, but of course, Rob Wiesemüller there as well. Not in this round because they're already basically locked in for that season finale in about a month's time, just under a month's time. That's going to be a lot of fun. We still don't know what circuits we'll be racing at, but still, it will be exciting nonetheless. Either way, race 1 of the evening is about to get underway. 15 minutes are on to the boards. Tomas Ribeiro and Bence Farkas, Cody Nikola Latkovsky, Moritz Lerner and Lloyd Biddulph, the top 5. We begin our race down into that first corner. Great start from Ribeiro. Great start in the mid-pack as well. I think that's Wan Shi Lin with a good start, along with the likes of Andika Milana. Down to that first corner they're going to go. Ribeiro has the whole shot, getting attacked by everyone. Is Bence Farkas in second position, taking that inside line in that big mighty Volvo. Onto the brakes they go as 30 cars try to navigate the opening corner here. And you were right, Cam. There we go. We've had a couple of spins as well as Andika Milana is sent down the order. It is chaos from about 8th on back. Some have got through. Ribeiro, though, leads.
Yeah, about a third of the grid had the yellow flag signal next to their name on the tower. Oh, big contact there on the exit. I think that's Philippou on the exit of the chicane. Oh, my word. He's lost a lot of time. So the top 5 have broken away at the front. And we're getting some battles in behind as well as drivers trying to get themselves in a bit of a single file line. Lucas Müller battling Rydell in towards this final corner. Looks like Müller on the orange E36 up the inside, gets to P7.
Jan Stanger behind as well, repping the Opel. Big shout out, same with Jean Petre. I like the Opel. We've discussed it quite a bit in the rounds prior. Love seeing it, but you can see quite a lot of BMWs and Volvos ahead. Seem to be the chosen car, even though one of those is a front-wheel drive, one of those is a rear-wheel drive. Rydell looks down the inside of Müller, but decides not to go for it. But there is a battle behind between Hazelwood and Percy as they get onto the brakes. There was a bit of contact and a bit of a half spin.
Yeah, I think that was Lynn. He's gone down. He's about P10, gone down to P13, because it's not just the place you lose at the time, but it's also the momentum that you lose on these really long straights around here. So that's going to be the important bit. Ribeira's gone off by 2 seconds. Benz Farkash has a train of starting with Maurice Lerner up towards the back of him, in towards the final corner. And this is a big thing for the championship. Ribeira's, at this point, he's going to easily win this first race if they can't chase him down.
Yeah, and if Benz Farkash is going to lose many positions here, then effectively Thomas Ribeiro will be taking over the lead of the championship at the top of the proceedings. 2.3 seconds clear after just 2 laps of running. Onto the brakes of the first corner. Here comes the look from Cody Nikola Latkovsky. He's in the BMW directly behind Lloyd Biddulph's Volvo. They get onto the brakes once more, go through the hairpin. Any contact behind. Everyone separated nicely. Hazelwood and Percy continue their battle as we'd seen a little bit earlier on in the previous lap. And I think there's a yellow flag out once more for Wan Shi Lin.
Oh, it seems to be in the same place though, P13, but Andika Ramanana very, very close behind him for that battle. Whoop. As you see the drivers going hoppity over the curb, and once again a bit of a bad run there from Lynn. Up ahead though, there's going to be some side-by-side battles as well. Got Percy trying to make a move up in the inside of the final corner. Huge send up the inside as well, trying to make that work, as now Lynn is losing another place. That's Milana in the white BMW going up the inside, and in this blue and red one, Lynn drops down to P14.
Yeah, that was it was Percy that slammed over the chicane curbs that allowed the move to come in from Hazelwood, who's now defending down into that first corner. You can't defend that tight though, because it means you don't have enough steering lock to really get through that. Almost turns it into the Macau hairpin. However, there is contact up ahead. Moritz Lerner's been round as there's some moves behind all that. A big one down the inside as down the order goes Hazelwood, because Jean Petra's come through, or sorry, Andika Ramanana has come through into 11th position in what looks like the Wish.com Wales BMW. It's an odd livery.
It certainly is. That is not the Welsh Dragon, though. I'm afraid
Definitely
the Welsh supporters out there. But because that hairpin, the apex is literally just one piece of Armco. If you aren't on the outside of the track coming into it, it's so tight and narrow. You're not making that corner. There's not enough radius to it. So even having a send down the inside, you're basically not making the corner. Moritz Lerner goes way wide out towards the barrier on the outside, as he's still in a decent place despite that spin into P9. But Rydell looks like he's got past, and Lerner there in P9.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened there to Moritz Lerner, but Rydell's come through 2 seconds up to Jan Stanger up ahead, and Moritz Lerner instantly trying to make the move straight to the inside. He goes, and then through into 8th position. Plenty of battling happening behind, continuing between Percy and Hazelwood. Hazelwood with the, I think it's the slight yellow highlights on his Volvo. We'll go back to it in a second because I can never remember which way around it is. Muller has now had a problem going through the chicane, so has dropped back down into 7th position.
Yes, certainly has. And Moritz Lerner going to be jumping up there. Muller goes down. So all the Germans there, the back end of the top 10, swapping places a few times. And Moritz Lerner, despite going around, I say they didn't seem actually to lose too much time. He's right in with this battle. There is a 3-second gap up ahead of Stanger, though. So that really is their problem in terms of getting up further positions, as we're going to get the slipstream, get the run down this front straight away. He's got a rider there in the middle of the pack. He's got Jean Petre in the red machine behind him, who's actually pulling out the slipstream almost 3 wide in towards the braking zone. Here goes Rydell down the inside of Moritz, or Lucas Müller, I should say, but not quite enough to make the overtake. Has to really slow down. He's going to lose momentum on the exit.
Yeah, right onto the anchors, and way out wide goes Hazelwood with the yellow highlighted Volvo there, and it allowed Percy to come through. Going to be side by side up towards the chicane as well in the background. There comes the look to the inside from Jean Petre, drops back in behind as there is a car stationary. Lloyd Biddulph one of the drivers who's up there in the championship, has had a monumental moment going through that chicane.
Yeah, scraping along the barrier and now trying to get back up to speed. Cars coming to his outside. That's very difficult. Hazelwood and Percy go around the outside there. He tries to navigate his situation. Ryder's had some issues as well because Jean-Petra's gone through. They've lost time. Now Milana's on the back of them.
You get a feeling Lloyd Bidoff is on a one-way trip into the pit lane, has sustained too much damage from that incident. Got to say, really impressed with Ribeiro and his confidence around here, considering the drama that is literally awaiting you at every single corner. Continues to pull out a monumental margin over Vince Farkas, the championship leader. Into the hairpin they go, into the barrier slightly there was Rydell, and as we ride on board with Andika Molana, nearly was caught up in it himself.
Oh no, not side by side in towards the chicane, no, just a little bit of wiggling, maybe some dissatisfaction there. Actually, that's a bit of a bad line as well from Rydell, so Milano is going to have to run up towards the final corner. Left or right is he going to go? It is going to be the left-hand side. This will turn to the inside of the final corner. Should be able to make the move up the inside. Yep, brakes later as well, and should have that one done. So Rydell down to P10.
Yeah, indeed. So it's just kind of how it's going to go. That kind of run into that final corner after the chicane really does make such a large difference. But the thing is, you run out wide there. We saw it a little bit earlier on in the race with Moritz Lerner, who went out a little bit wide at the final corner and still was able to pick up the slipstream and make a move down into T1, because that run down into T1 is still plenty lengthy enough. Wen Shilin, who definitely has got pace to be in the top 10 here. Maybe doesn't have the connection for it though, as he's trying to battle his way down the inside of Dirk Nats, who's going to go plenty wide going through the hairpin. Goodness me, didn't give him that much room.
Yeah, so Wittmans and Sen get up the inside. Nice little double move then for the pair of them. And I think Wittmans actually got that move on Sen at the same time as they both got past Nats. Very crazy indeed, but that is just that hairpin for you. A very weird corner in the world of motorsport. In fact, there's not really a regular section of the track here at AVUS as we're halfway through this first race.
Do you know what I could see this circuit being raced in?
What?
Formula E.
Ooh. Good shout.
It is that kind of vibe. Yeah, just like it's all the chicanes all the time. I'm just saying it, but either way, we'll refocus on the race at hand, because we have a battle between the two Opals. It's Stanger and Jean-Petra. Jean-Petra's got to the outside. Jan Stanger's got the inside line and the speed to go with it. Meanwhile, Jean-Petra's got the outside line and a BMW straight into the door. And Dika Molana was trying to get himself involved, understeered right into the side of that bright red Opel Vectra.
Oh, that's a terrible line there from Jean-Petra. And this might be a couple laps in a row that Milana gets the run on the exit of the chicane. And he should have this one done way earlier than he did on Rydell a couple of laps ago. Rydell's actually trying to get past as well. So Jean-Petra may be losing 2 places here. He's going to have to go on the outside, hang it all the way around. Such a long corner. Maybe a bit of contact there actually has helped him keep that position. So just Milana goes through, but Jean-Petra is going to be under attack here as we come back down the main straight. Got to look out for Percy and the Volvo on the back of this 4-way battle as well.
Yeah, Percy's been moving his way forward, dragging along a little bit of Hazelwood as well in their fight. Obviously, a couple of mistakes from Percy going through that chicane, which has caught out quite a few people. On the attack comes Jean-Petra, looking to the right-hand side of Andika Molana. Bit of a double front lock-up, though. Doors open. Rydell's come through. There he goes. Sneaking straight through on the pair. Comes Percy in that Volvo. Came out of absolutely nowhere.
What a move. Absolutely loving the racing that we're getting here today at AVUS. Jean-Petra once again awkward entry to the chicane. A bit of a better exit than last time though. And he's going to be under attack once more. Rydell trying to continue his run forward. But I say Jean-Petra actually, he's got a better run. And up ahead of his Stanger, who had a terrible exit. 3 wide, we almost go for a second as the 2 Vectras are rubbing doors. And it looks like there's going to be the up and under there. A Stanger in the black one tries to get back up the inside, and he has done so somehow to defend the place for now.
I think Jean-Petra's going to lose a few positions here. Stanger's come through, picking up the slipstream. Jean-Petra's going to have Rydell and potentially Hazelwood as well, who are going side by side behind. It's Hazelwood on the right-hand side of your screen, and that Volvo is going to be taking a bit of a send. As early onto the brakes goes the Opel of Jan Stanger. Jean-Petra's to the outside. Big kick of oversteer coming off the corner from Rydell as well. Obviously, front-wheel drive in the Opels, rear-wheel drive in the BMW, front-wheel drive in the Volvo as well, and different weights, different brakes, different all this, that and the other, as Spiegel has had a bit of a problem in the background and unfortunately has dropped down the order further, causing another yellow flag.
Certainly, this has been a crazy race. And this is just race one. Got another one coming your way before we move over to Zolder. And this is great fun. This is why we brought the Super Touring Championship back and why we are racing these crazy cars around these crazy circuits, because it brings the action. Here is some more a little bit further down. Spiegel, like you were saying, Lewis, 22nd place. It might be lower down, but the positions are, in the background, the Cravey goes around. Maybe some contact with Lichtenhagen. As the battles, they don't care what place they are, they battle hard.
That was a crazy moment. That doesn't really work, you know what I mean? Obviously,
that's nuts a good joke.
There we go. I did see that Gaspar Misch is in chat, so get into the game. Wan Shilin has gone missing from the AVUS. There's also another one round. Trumper's taken your line here. It is stationary at the moment on the exit of the hairpin.
And that is a good power slide he's done on the exit of the hairpin. Oh, that rear bumper's getting rearranged as well. Oh, almost some contact on the front end, just hitting every corner of the car as they try to rearrange themselves to get some better aero maybe around this AVUS circuit. We go back to the battle with Jean Petre, who's behind Stanger, who kept that position in this very corner, a couple of laps to go, and now they are continuing on. This is for P9 and 10. Percy's got up the way by 1.7 seconds, but they need to look in the mirror because they're getting Rido coming on the back of them.
Yeah, indeed. As you can see some of those gaps closing in. Jean Petre, Jan Stanger continuing their fight. Like you said, ninth position at the moment. This fight is for. It obviously has been slightly higher up the order. It's been dropping down the other. It's just how this has unfolded. The battle packs have really slowed things down. Going side by side towards the chicane between those two Opals. It's the inside line for Jan Stanger. Backing out of it is Jean Petre in the red Opal there, and you also have the BMW of Royale behind. You've got Hazelwood also. Peter Daniel has been closing in on this mix as well. One thing that I've learned in this race thus far, though, is that even though Ribeiro's got a nearly 5 second lead, no one is safe in this race. They can one mistake and they're all dropping right the way down the order as Hazelwood is trying to battle with Rydell here to take over 11th position.
And the mistakes are so easy to come by around this circuit. Every single corner has its difficulties despite the simplicity of the layout, at least on paper. But let's see, is there going to be a bit of a scent here down the inside? He was on the outside, now the inside for Hazelwood. No, decides not to do so this time around. A lot of black marks there on the tarmac as they sort of spin the wheels up, trying to get the power down on the exit. It's so important to get the run down towards the hairpin. There's a little bit of a send up the inside there as well. Oh, that looks quite nice until it's not. They make contact on the exit. That's Rido getting past Kramer. So Rido's dropped down. There's two runs in this one. He's the second one there in P19.
Yeah, indeed. As Wittmers has had a moment on the exit of the chicane to make an extra chicane for everyone to try and navigate. Vinieri does manage to work their way past, and Wittmers is able to get back going again without any further drama. But that was a chaotic moment. It's so easily done. I'm assuming too much speed going through that final part of the chicane, clipping the barrier and spinning you around.
Yeah, it's quite an open chicane until the bit where you don't want it to be, which is the very last sort of apex as we're getting a send here down the inside. That's Hazelwood, but he doesn't actually brake later. But he actually gets a little bit of a block there from the Vectra in front of him. That's Jean Petre. So he didn't brake late enough. And on the outside is Rydell, who had no space because Jean Petre was there at the apex. Side by side, in towards the chicane. We're mid-track for Rydell as he tries to hold on. He brakes late enough to defend that place. But that was certainly a difficult one. Oh, up onto two wheels. He's going to lose the momentum.
Yeah, indeed. And Kramers and Ardate have both had a problem as well. That would be down at the hairpin. So a couple more issues coming in on the final lap of this race, which is about ready to begin. We've got four retirements for the race. Chari, Christian Orban, Lloyd Biddulph, Moritz Trumper. All retirements from this race. Still means we've got 26 navigating this circuit, trying desperately to hang on. This is back up to our race leader, who has been in such control. It's been a monumentally impressive drive coming in from Ribeiro at the moment. He's only got a corner left to tick off. We've had 7 races so far this season. And it does seem as though if you want to win a race, well, you've either got to be named Bence Farkas or you've got to be named Tomas Ribeiro. Ribeiro is about to take over the lead of the championship and top the all-time winners list, if you want to call it that, on 7 races, because it's a 4th victory of the season from Ribeiro, who's looking so strong at the moment. Farkas in second alongside.
Yeah, what a race there from Ribeiro. It was so close with many battles, and even despite the short circuit, he's able to pull 5 seconds. That is absolutely remarkable. He's on fine form here as we get towards a very interesting point of the championship where it's kind of like halfway through, and he's certainly putting his mark down, taking that championship lead as well. But Farkash is right in behind, and that could so easily swing around. We're seeing some drivers in the back end of the top 10, Jean-Petr, etc., who gave us amazing battles. And up towards the line, Wittmers is continuing on. He's trying to get past Rydell. Nicholas Rydell, that is. Wittmers does not have enough to get there, and he'll have to sit there in 19th place.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, some great fighting around here, of which we have another race left to go around the other circuit before we take on Circuit Zolder. But of course, we'll have a qualifying session between now and then. And here is the race order provisionally from this race: Ribeiro, Farkash, Cody Nikola Latkovsky, Filippo, Moritz Lerner, then Muller, Roman Molana, Percy Stanger, and Jean-Petr, the top 10 in this race. Fastest lap as well, going the way of Ribeiro in a dominant 6-second lead. An excellent performance. We've got Hazelwood, we've seen again a lot of fans. Jonas Rydell, Petter Daniel, Roland Sen, then Nats, Lynn, Vinieri, Rydell, Nicholas Rydell, like I said, Wittmers and Hendrik Lichtenhagen at the back end of the top 20. 4 retirements to speak of, those at the bottom with Trumper, Bidolf, Orban and Chari. A single car going a lap down was Christopher Elliott, and ahead of that was Ade Spiegel, Villa Cravey, Seth Kramers and Gertschel as well. But Ribeiro is the talk of the town at the moment. What an epic drive, what a superb performance that he's put on.
Yeah, that is quite something. I remember in the first round or so of the season, like he was up there, but I wasn't really thinking about him. Then he came out in that third race where we went to the Modern Hockheim, won it fairly easily. I was like, okay, maybe actually he's going to be getting involved in this championship. And now, since then, he's just really started to pull away with it. So I'm very interested how Farkash is going to respond in this second race, because the margins are so small. In qualifying, it's just 0.02 of a second. Can Farkash swap that around and get the pole for one? But then also in the race, can he do anything to chase down? I mean, Ribeiro had 2 seconds already after a few laps, so he's got good pace around it.
Also, the rear-wheel drive of that BMW does seem to be able to start very well. That was one thing that I did notice on that race start. I get the feeling if Bence Farkash had started first or second, he was taking the lead down into T1. So that's kind of one of those things to also look at. Rear-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive. They do have to qualify again, like you say. Bence Farkash could qualify on pole position, but will it matter? And when you're pulling out, when you've got 0.02 of a second between you in qualifying, where does 6 seconds come from in a 15-minute race? That's what's concerning to me.
It's quite a lot considering how close they've been on track in other races. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of consistency there because Ribeiro was obviously on his own and he was able just to do lap after lap after lap, getting a bit of a rhythm, whereas Farkash was at least looking in the mirrors. He didn't have much of a challenge from behind. It wasn't like they're going side by side every lap, but still, I think there's a little bit that he can work on there. We did hear in the interview last time, if I remember rightly, that Farkash said he had basically zero knowledge of the track. Not saying the others do, but maybe that comes into it as well. Maybe a little bit of consistency, but a lack of not necessarily practice, but just a lack of knowledge of the circuit.
I mean, look, I'm going to say it this way, Cam. You know how long I've been in sim racing. It's been more than a year. Let's go with that. I've been in sim racing now for 12 years, and I've never done a lap of AVUS. I know a lot of people that have never touched the circuit. I know a lot of people that didn't even know it existed. Zach Sweeney would have no idea what this circuit is, and so that doesn't shock me. I think most of the grid, I could imagine 90% of this grid have never done a lap on the circuit. So I don't think that's something that's holding anyone back. I think it's just Ribeiro's got so much confidence at the moment. And I would almost expect that even from more like a front-wheel drive driver. And I say that because you're less likely to spin going through that chicane in a front-wheel drive. At least that's my vibe anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, in terms of the characteristics. But I guess, I don't know. I think they have long enough to get a feeling of the track, though. It's not like one driver is massively off. So they've obviously had 2 weeks, and within qualifying, they're 0.02, I should say, off each other. So they're basically on the same pace. They're on the top pace because they're getting, qualifying. They're not off the pace as such. I think it's just a level of comfort. And this track is not comfortable at all. I mean, turn one, so difficult. As I say, it's literally just a piece of arm code that you're going around. There's no radius to it at all. Then you've got the chicane, which is just an absolute joke, to be honest, who put those little bollards there. And then the final corner is so long, you just have to, you have to do it, 1,000 times to really work out what the line is.
Thought you were going to go a little bit John Cleland at Oschersleben, then that was almost getting quite intense. If you haven't seen that, go and look it up. Quite a clip in the world of motorsport. To be fair, I completely agree. I think that chicane is a travesty, and yet part of me kind of loves it for it because it's just.
It's probably like 80s, 90s, like before they really cared about safety. It's like, we need to slow them down. So we'll just put a couple of pieces of, bollard and whatnot on the track, and then they'll just have to live with it, to be honest.
That'll do, yeah. No, I remember this is going quite a way back. We used to do, if you ever know about it, it's the Touring Pro Series, which was like years ago on our factory. It was like, before every season, there would be like a big pre-qualifier to see who was going to be in Division 1 and who was going to be in Division 2. You do all that pre-qualifier. And to deal with track limits, kind of like what you would do the chicane there. Basically, the guy who was running, his name was Ryan Callan, would basically just be like, right, I'm just going to stick a concrete barrier right on the apex of the corner because you can get to there and there is no further that you can go. And I was like, do you know what? Bet. It kind of works. Yeah, almost the same as with this. It's like, if IRL, you race this track, you could not take those curbs. They would, like, not really anyway. They would, they're proper backbreakers. It's not like the S's at Surfers where you can take those curves because they're a lot softer onto it. These are just brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. Back in the day as well, I mean, you have to think these cars were fragile, right? So if you went over it and you damaged your car, you'd be out of the weekend potentially. The costs were obviously quite high at the time for what they were, and they're supposed to be cheap. And it wasn't like it was F1 where there's just millions and millions and millions. So if you break your car, there's a bit of a problem. So I do like that as well. And I think that's something probably the modern tracks have numbed down way too much, is that there's no discouragement for going off the track or having something. Whereas now, I mean, you've seen in the race today, 3 or 4 people at least, basically, went on 2 wheels, flipped their car, had a bit of an accident there on the exit of the chicane.
You cannot take the mick around here. It was, like I say, the circuit has been around for a long time. It was, 1939, I think it was the first one around here. I think I was reading earlier. 1994 is this layout. So even this layout is older than me, Cam. So at least there's that. What do you mean, really?
How come?
You know exactly how old I am. Don't even start.
I do, and it's certainly younger than that as we come to qualifying for the second race of the evening. And as we see Lewis's birthplace being used as a racetrack, you can see what Ribeiro can do. Of course, getting pole position last time out, but there's no guarantees. Another qualifying session, and you need to come out and perform again.
Yeah, indeed. No, this is it. The last race now means basically nothing, and with 30 cars around a 50-odd second lap, you don't get much space. And it's kind of one of those ones where, especially going into that chicane, you've got to hope that the car ahead of you is going to actually do it all right, because if they make a mistake in front of you, your lap is gone as well. Ribeiro here, we can see, has plenty of space up ahead, but now has to defend in the slipstream. Oh, well, never mind, just letting them go. So just a little bit of toe given out there. Never mind, I'll hold fire.
Yes, potentially, or just getting a little bit of a warm-up for a couple of laps, just getting himself ready to go for one. But you might be right on that one as well, because the toe is quite important around here. There's 3 basically long straights, and obviously you want to be doing that as best as possible. As we see the lap time start to come in, John Petra straight to the front on a 57.1, but Milana already, and we're going to get into the 56s as the laps come in.
Yeah, that was a pretty handy lap time from Jean Petre to start the session. Moritz Lerner a little bit better, but we're expecting a few tenths faster than that. Pole position in the previous race was a 56.643 in the hands of Ribeiro. He's now going to be able to pick up a little bit of slipstream here and potentially even gain a little bit going down into that first corner. It's Cody Nikolakowski who will now jump out of the way for Ribeiro. So Ribeiro's done the deed and given Latkovsky the slipstream down to the first corner. Ribeiro now has a big slide coming out of that hairpin, and I think that's particularly conducive for good lap times.
Yeah, it looks cool, but if the wheels are spinning, it means the car's not going forward, and you are losing a bit of time, a bit of momentum, as he's going to get one of the orange BMWs there, having a little getting a little bit in the way, but we'll see. Look at this absolute trade. You're talking about no space. What is this down the front straight? There's about 3-4 car lengths in between each of those cars, working their way down towards the first corner as they try and find themselves some space on the track. And the top 4 within a 1/10 of a second. I say that though, Farkash by 3/10 of a second jumps up to the top.
Yeah, great lap time from Bence Farkash. That would have been good enough for pole position earlier on in the evening. So that is going to be a tricky lap time to beat. Ribeiro at the moment only in 6th position at present. We look at Steph Kramer's going through there. I think it was Lloyd Biddulph who was directly ahead. We've got Percy who's just gone up into 18th position. Jan Stanker finds his way into 10th. It is indeed Lloyd Biddulph who is improving on this lap as Latkovsky's gone fastest in the first sector.
Yeah, he and Ribeiro seem to be swapping around as they go over the curbs a lot more. Some drivers still not using the curbs at all, but he's trying to do a little 2-wheel hop. He is fast in that first sector, but a bit off in that middle sector. So just a lots of time to make up in this final corner. It's so wide, there's loads of lines, so definitely time to be found out there as he then tries to give the slipstream to Ribeiro to repay the favour.
Indeed, let's see what's going to happen here. Latkovsky up towards the line. Any actual improvement? No, not really. That middle sector was a little bit pants. Who is going faster? Jan Stanker and Jean Petre both in the pit lane. Will they be coming out for another run in this session? 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. Once the timer hits 0, and that is going to cost a few people's lap time. Spiegel was trying to escape as quick as possible, but couldn't quite get there, and that caused quite a kerfuffle.
It might have been Lucas Müller, Moritz Lerner, potentially, because they're in orange BMWs, coming out of that corner. And that's exactly what you said, Lewis, a couple of minutes ago about other drivers crashing in front of you causing issues. Jan Stanger's had an issue as well. And here is Ribeiro, after winning that first race so comfortably. He's down in P8. He's just got a couple of potential laps to go, sliding that rear end once more. I think it might be a bit of an improvement. Is it going to be enough to get a few places, because it's very tight ahead of him?
But look at how clean the air is ahead of Ribeiro. Now could be the time. Goes up to 3rd position, trying to at least get onto that front row of the grid, and it could be important for Ribeiro here. He's giving Nikola Latkovsky the slipstream and allows Latkovsky to find his way past. Ribeiro will drop in behind and give it a go in the what will be effectively the penultimate lap of the session. Kramer's causes a yellow flag. Enzo Filippo also causes the yellow flag with a spin, and Cody Nikola Latkovsky fast in the first sector by 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, 2 people crashing at the same time on the exit of the chicane there. Let's see what Latkovsky can do. Once he further crashes, fortunately they get out of the way. And indeed, Farkash there. That means he may not quite have enough time to go and do another lap. Very tight indeed, but he may not need it. He's almost 0.2 of a second in the lead of such a close qualifying session. As here's Latkovsky, comes around the final corner. He again loses about 0.4 in the middle sector like he did on his previous lap, so it may not be the one to get an improvement.
No, indeed not. Like I say, I think Farkash is in a solid position regardless. You've got to think Elliott leaving the pit lane there in the background, but there won't be enough time to actually go and do a lap time. Unfortunately, once it hits 0, the session is over. Ribeiro then will begin effectively his final lap of this qualifying session, and will there be an improvement to go and grab pole position? And Dicaron Molana's called it. Ribeiro's gone fastest in the first sector. Moritz Lerner now into the final turn, bails out of the lap, gives a little bit of slipstream, but that will be his session done.
Oh, big crash ahead of Ribeiro, but he continues, he keeps his foot in. Is there going to be any sort of improvement? We're just coming up towards the 2nd sector line. There is. There might be just hope of him getting onto the front row after the carnage ahead of him, but he managed to thread the needle and get through.
Yeah, dodged it perfectly, but can Ribeiro get onto the front row of the grid? It's unlikely, but it is possible. Through the final turn they go. What can Ribeiro do? Is there a front row up for grabs? No, there is not. 3rd position is all it's going to be. Pole position for Bence Farkash. Ribeiro getting caught up a little bit in the tricky traffic driving around the AVUS circuit. Moritz Lerner then 6th position. Any improvement for him in the final 20-odd seconds?
That chicane is almost more difficult now that we're trying to make them take it properly, but I guess that is actually the idea, to be honest, and it's really causing quite a few problems as the race goes on. Session comes to an end. Farkash by almost 0.2 of a second. There will be a couple of seconds left for these drivers to improve their time so they can just about get to the line, but certainly a strong performance from Lerner anyway, up in P6. Is there going to be, oh yes there is, a little bit of improvement, about 0.5, got him 2 places.
Yeah, Moritz Lerner moved up to 4th position, goes alongside Ribeiro, just a few thousand behind, but a very strong pole position lap time from Bence Farkas, the lone Volvo with 6 BMWs directly behind, all that could potentially start this race better than he. Going to be a tricky one for them to deal with in that race down to the first corner. We saw plenty of drama in the previous race. You reckon this one's going to be any cleaner? Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not. We know what these guys are like, and we already saw a little bit of a pile-up in the first corner, about 7-8 cars involved. Let's see if we get that again.
Yeah, indeed. So they're putting themselves into position. Got to ask, Cam, who's winning this race? Is it going to be Bence Farkas? Is it going to be Tomas Ribeiro? Are we finally going to get another different winner in this championship?
I'm going to say if he keeps out turn 1 in the lead, I think Farkas.
It's going to be tough for him to hold on to that lead, though, down to the first corner, just purely based on the front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. As much as everyone's going to be like front-wheel drives, rear-wheel drives, always going to get a better start, that's not necessarily the case, because some people start on the rear-wheel drives, they just burn out do a big burnout on the grid and don't move anywhere, so you never really know. Farkas is in position, though, to try and hold on to the lead. He's taken pole position. Can he hold off Andika Ramalana? Can he hold off Tomas Ribeiro, who once again gets a perfect start? And here we go, down the order, losing 2 positions by the time they've even left where the pit exit is. Ribeiro's got straight through into the race lead, and Andika Ramalana has got the inside line trying to hang on from Bence Farkas. He'll look to the outside going into the first turn then. The outside Farkas is going to go straight on. Goes one of the BMWs behind. That was Enzo Filippo, who went straight down the outside. However, at least this run through T1's been a whole lot cleaner. Not perfect, but better.
Oh, 3 wide into the chicane. Farkas up the inside. Definitely good thing he backed out of that one as Ribeiro holds on. Malana's 2nd place, Farkas 3rd, but that could have easily been ending in tears as they went 3 wide. As we go through the chicane a bit further back, everyone else just about, no, not quite, as there's Gretschel goes around and he's spun around Orban and Lichtenhagen involved.
Cody Nikola-Latkovsky to the outside of Andika Ramalana, the battle of the 3 namers for 3rd position, but Moritz Lerner's knocking at the door to try and find his way through. It's a big train at the front with Ribeiro, Farkas, Ramalana, Nikola-Latkovsky, Lerner, Muller, Jean-Petre, Hazelwood. But it's so tight in this group, but how's it going to unfold down into that first turn? Side by side between the top 2 in the race, the top 2 in the championship as well. As Bence Farkas, a little bit of a send in the background. There's contact. Farkas has been set out wide, as has Moritz Lerner's come through. And Ribeiro was sent into the barrier also. There's absolute chaos behind. This is more what we expected on lap 1. Whoa!
Oh, this is an absolute pile-up. Rydell got spun around, and of course there's no space up ahead as we're squeezing 2 by 2 in towards the chicane. So Malana's ended up in the lead with Farkas, Muller coming through to P3, Ribeiro's down to 4th, Moritz Lerner and Latkovsky follow through to round out the top 6. But this is all change up towards the front as Ribeiro, he defended nicely into turn 1. There was contact with Farkas, which then was a sort of Skittles moment, pushing everyone through, and in the end actually is Farkas who's leading his rival of Ribeiro.
That was almost unbelievable. And yet it did happen. And yet I would expect it to happen again. Andika Ramalana and his knockoff Wales car is currently in 1st position. As Bence Farkas will go on the attack. There's a look to the inside from Ribeiro, who takes out his championship rival straight down the inside. He spent Farkas round. Somehow they're still going. You could tell he was too late on the brakes from a mile off.
That is a T-bone if you've ever seen one. Normally you have to pay 50 quid at a restaurant, but this time we get it for free on our screens. And Ribeiro, oh my word, what a mistake. He doesn't need to be going that hard against his rival, I should say, in this championship. He just needs to get a nice top 5 finish here, but he's taking so much risk trying to get that place back. Fortunately, Farkas is the car ahead of him, but if any penalties come his way, that is incredibly important points lost.
Yeah, indeed. And you've got to say, like, that was a little bit potentially reckless from Ribeiro. And now Hazelwood's closing in and is going to be knocking at the door of a potential top 5. Welcome to the championship, Hazelwood, for the RaceRoom Super Touring Championships. Pretty high strength of field. Could be a top 5 up for grabs here. Going to go deep on the brakes as the pretty well read there from Ribeiro to see that little bit of a late move on the brakes. Move over to give the room to go straight on. Andika Ramalana has checked out. A little bit of rubbing between Cody Nikola-Latkovsky and Moritz Lerner directly behind the battle for 3rd position. They work their way through the chicane, getting incredibly close to the barrier. Any takers into it? Oh my goodness, it's close.
What a camera angle that is from Captain Coffee as we work our way towards the mid part of this race. The drivers pushing the limits here at AVUS. What a track, what a series we're having. It's been such good fun to have these cars back out on our screens, and what a race we are seeing. So Farkash here defending from Ribeiro. Your two championship rivals down in P5 and P6. Some new names up towards the front in terms of race wins this season potentially, because these drivers, they need to have their battle themselves and try and get through 4 cars. Can't see either of these winning this race, as once again Ribeiro sliding around on the brakes. He's almost reared, locking the whole way in the braking zone.
Yeah, considering the 2 drivers, Lloyd Biddulph having a bit of a yellow flag there, I think he had an awkward line there. The 2 drivers that have been victorious in the 7 races this season, it's either been Farkash or Ribeiro. Does seem as though whilst they're so focused on their fight for 5th position, that we are going to see a new winner. Will it be Andika Raul-Milano? Will Lucas Muller be able to close up 1.2 seconds and drag Cody Nikolakowski with him? Moritz Lerner as well, or as Cam was trying to call, speaking of new names, Loris Murmer. That was the attempt earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah, Moose Glade. We'll move on from that one. As we're seeing Ryder, the 2 Ryders coming in towards the chicane side by side as well. We've got Percy involved, we've got Ardy. This is getting close. They literally went side by side through. That's not going to end well. And yes, they do have contact on the exit. So it's Eunice Ryder and Ardy actually who were the ones side by side in the chicane. As Ardy managed to get that move after him almost being crunched into the wall, that would be quite something, as I think he might have done in towards that final chicane. As Ribeiro's had more contact. Hazelwood and Jean Petra involved. And this is big for the championship as Ribeiro loses 4 or 5 places.
Yeah, Ribeiro down to 10th position. Hazelwood being dragged with Wan Shi Lin, who rejoins about as well as I do, and straight into the path of someone else. So a little bit chaotic there, but you're absolutely right. For the championship, it's a big one. Ribeiro, fresh off of a victory, drops back now to 10th position after that. Almost certain contact at the opening corner of this lap. 9 minutes still left to go in the race. You've got to finish it, and Ribeiro already trying to recover.
And this is how championships are won or lost. We have a very short championship, to be honest. I know in the end with 3 races a night, there is a lot of points out there on offer, but 1 race here and there can be a big difference, especially if your rival is finishing top 3s, top 5s every single race. As we're going to see Chari there trying to make a move. We've got Ribeiro just in behind, actually, in the end being the one making the move up the inside. Chari goes way wide, and Ribeiro has a nice, easy move there. But on the exit is actually Chari who gets the up and under.
Yeah, indeed. You get a little bit of that side by side. There is a spinner in the background. That is Wan Shi Lin, who has been sent round at the hairpin. This is the battle for 10th position, or 9th position rather. Ribeiro sliding all over the place. So close to that barrier on the exit of the corner. I can't imagine he's going to avoid it the entire, which is so odd, because like how consistent and how calm and how dominant he was in the previous race. Here comes a look from Wittmers.
You know how back like 10 years ago in F1, Mercedes, they would win the race by 30 seconds, but the second they were behind someone else, they would finish 10th. It feels like a similar situation, because the difference between leading the race and winning comfortably and being in the first couple of places is so different. There's contact on the wall there from Lekowski. I think he just turned in a bit too early. But yeah, when you're a bit further down, it's certainly a different mindset you have to have coming into these battles. Ribeiro does get Chari there, but let's see if the exit, the 4-wheel drive off the Audi off the corner, can retake that position like last time.
Certainly, so Peter Daniel has had a moment in the background as well, as Hazelwood will head his way through. Now Enzo Filippo with a problem right ahead of camera shot as well. He's gone for a spin. He's pointing the right direction, thankfully, and is able to carry on.
I thought there was going to be a big crash there.
Yeah.
I really thought there was going to be a big crash, but somehow we are all good. And we have the an Alpha, the only Alpha there really on the grid of Vinieri, getting past. So that is for P11 in the red machine as Filippo jumps down into P12. But side by side on the exit, BMW might be able to come back down this front straight. A long run from where you go flat out through turn 4 down towards this turn 1. It is such a long straight, but it looks like the Alpha does have enough top speed to hold on, at least for now. Hopefully he's got the brakes as well.
Yeah, we don't really see, we don't have many Alphas out there. In fact, he's just the one in Vinieri. So it's much easier to pick them apart this round, although it's actually quite hard to pick them apart on the tower. We don't talk about that. As he absolutely carves up and Stanger trying to keep John Petra's been round. This will be ahead of this. This will be coming on the exit of the chicane. John Petra's been round, and Ribeiro as well.
Oh no, this is not DNF. DNF as well, not even a redo into the race. This is what a terrible race this is from Ribeiro. He won the first race so comfortably by 6-7 seconds, and in the end, DNF in race 2. Huge points lost, and who knows about the penalties as well that may come his way afterwards. This is a championship-changing race. Farkash could just sit comfortably in P5.
Yeah, indeed, and that's the thing, is that Ben Farkash will be aware as to Ribeiro's retirement. And so it will just be, right, hang on to this one. Lloyd Biddulph, after his dramas in the previous race, now takes over 6th position. Sorry, we're looking at Ben Farkash, sorry. I see a Volvo and I just assumed it was Lloyd Biddulph, wrong colour. But Ben Farkash has his battle with Moritz Lerner and does work his way through into 4th position. Podium still up for grabs for the Volvo driver here.
Yeah, there's me saying just sit in P5. Oh, he goes wide. But a bit of a hip check there as well from the German as he comes up the inside to regain P4. But Farkash, he would have definitely seen on the screen the situation with his rival. So he doesn't need to battle this, but he's a race driver at the end of the day. He's a multiple-time race winner so far this season. Up the inside is going to be for the Volvo on the BMW. Who is going to brake later? Is it Farkash on the inside or Lerner on the out? It looks like it is going to be Farkash who gets that one stuck. And as you say, might be able to get up to the podium. We do have less than 5 minutes to go, though.
Does look as though a 4th victory of the season might be a little bit too far for Ben Farkash to go and potentially grab, but getting past Moritz Lerner there will certainly help. You can see plenty of smoke in the braking zone of that first corner in the background as they work their way on the exit of the chicane. There's Wittmers, there's Roland Sen as well. Dirk Nat's not too far off the rear end as they go back single file. Cannot believe, by the way, they were nearly 3 wide going into that on that one.
I can. These guys are a bit crazy, but I know what you mean in terms of why were they doing it. That was absolutely crazy with Farkash trying to regain those places that he lost with the bad start. He just wheel spinned off the line.
Yeah, just couldn't quite get the power down, but that's sometimes how it goes. Whether the next race will add something different. It's a much shorter run down into T1 when we go to Zolder for the 3rd and final race of the evening. A 3rd and final race, the slightly longer races, which Ribeiro has been undefeated in the 2 races that we've done this season. When we've done the longer races, it's always been him on top at Donington. And of course, the modern Hockenheimring earlier on. Here's the battle though for 13th position. Roland said you got Vinieri in the middle as well. Bit of contact on the exit of the corner as Vinieri's trying to find his way through, and they're still side by side in the run down into the chicane.
Even too wide is scary coming down in towards this part of the track. Who is going to back out? None of them. They make contact. They bump all over the curbs. And this is absolutely terrible. Daniel slows down so much. There's an absolute train behind him as we come up towards the final corner. The first one is Wittmers there in the orange BMW. But in behind, we're also getting Vinieri up the inside in the Alfa Romeo. Big send down the inside. That actually pushes wide, but up ahead. I think Sen's gone wide a little bit as he's losing that place that he gained.
Yeah, that was, I mean, look, it was 0 to 0 in literally 2 corners there. Neither of them were backing out going into the chicane, and now it seems as though no one's going to be backing out down to the hairpin. Chances of this coming out in a nice clean fight, Cam? Probably 0.
Let's see this. Who's going to brake later? Moving just before we get to the brake zone. Huge send down the inside. A 2-driver move up the inside is going to be there, and he has made it so. 3 cars in the barrier. So Lin hit the wall. Wittmers hit the wall as well, as Sen somehow is keeping this position. But Peter Daniel, what a send up the inside there. These guys are just going absolutely crazy. So it was Sen making the double move in that orange BMW, just taking no prisoners.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened more this evening, where Wan Shi Lin on the inside line basically just comes to a complete stop. That is why you're not allowed to overtake going into the Macau hairpin. I know it's way tighter, but you can understand it. You've got a barrier like that. They're not allowed to overtake it. I am not saying, by the way, that they shouldn't be able to overtake into it, because I think it's hilarious. But just saying that, you know, that's a very tight hairpin and there's a wall on the inside, and the amount of time when you do try the overtake into it, you find the barrier is hilarious. Spence Farkash and Moritz Lerner going side by side once again for 4th.
Yeah, these guys guys just do not stop battling. They've lost a lot of time though to Latkovsky. At one point we were saying Farkash may be able to get on the podium, but that gap has gone up a little bit. And to be honest, he can take P4. That is still going to be a solid one. We got a load of smoke up ahead as Latkovsky drifts his way through the final corner. A minute and a half remaining, a couple of laps left in this race. Malana only leads by 0.4 of a second, by the way. So Lucas Müller coming into the championship very strong, and he isn't giving this one up.
Yep, indeed. He's got 0.3 to close in now on Andika Ramanmolana. There comes a look to the inside. Doesn't quite go for the full send. A big kick of oversteer off the corner from Ramanmolana. They'll have a single lap after this one as Moritz Lerner and Bence Farkash continue their side-by-side off of the hairpin. Down now into the chicane. Farkash has the inside line, and he is going to hold firm. A little bit of a lift on throttle from Moritz Lerner. Maybe we'll need to pass that information on to Roland Sen from earlier on in the race when that wasn't quite lifted off going into it.
Yeah, absolutely. There was something dodgy going in there in the hairpin, by the way, between Müller and Malana. I wonder if there was some contact being made because Müller was almost letting Malana rehab the place. But now we've got one final opportunity in towards this first corner, and it starts here. Lerner gets a terrible run, though. It was almost too close, and he had wheel spin on the exit, so he might be too far back to make a clean move. But you never know. There's a dirty move up the inside as well, in towards the final opportunity, the final good opportunity into this first corner. But no, he is going to be too far back.
The clean bump and run never hurt anyone, Cam. Plenty of smoke, though, down into the hairpin as they depart that up towards the chicane. Bit of lap traffic in one of the 850s as well. So a little bit to deal with there. That is Arde, who's potentially going to get in the way with a little bit of a damaged car. Extremely close between Lucas Müller and Andika Ramanmolana as they head their way through the penultimate turn into the final one. The left-hand hairpin. A look to the outside from Lucas Müller, trying to get past Andika Ramanmolana, who holds that inside line tightly towards the barrier. The drag race off of the line. We are going to see a new winner in the championship. It's no longer Bence Farkash. It's no longer Tomas Ribeiro. It is Andika Ramanmolana to win on the streets of AVUS to take a first victory in the RaceRoom Super Touring Championship. Lucas Müller, though, gave him a push all the way to the line, and Cody Latkovsky rounds out the podium. All three locked out as a BMW. Moritz Lerner and Bence Farkash, that went the way of Lerner in that fight, so Farkash only 5th.
Yeah, what a race, to be honest. I mean, Farkash down in P5, who would have really thought after the dominance that he's had in certain races so far this season. But the big news as well is with Ribeiro. Not only the contact with Farkash, but then the couple of other incidents that came that ended in a DNF, and that is going to be some big points lost in this championship. And to be honest, that might be the thing that sways in the favour of Farkash.
So, Andika Ramanmolana victorious then ahead of Lucas Müller, Cody Latkovsky, Moritz Lerner in 4th position with Bence Farkash in 5th, Lloyd Biddulph in 6th position with Patrick Chari in 7th, then Enzo Filippo, Philip Cravey and Jean Petre, the top 10. The rest of the drivers and finishers behind, it's Hazelwood, then Stanger, Vinieri, Peter Daniel, Roland Sen, Steph Kramers, Wittmers, Nats, Wan Shi Lin, who hit the barrier at T1 more than once, and Christian Orban, who is in 20th position. Behind that, the final finishers, it's Percy, who didn't quite have as good a run as in the previous race, Hendrik Lichtenhagen, and then both Rydels, Jonas being the first, and Nicholas being the second, then Gretschel, of course, with Arde, who went a lap down, Trumper, who went a lap down, and 3 retirements in Spiegel, in Elliott, and then very importantly, in Tomas Ribeiro. A retirement for the first time this season. Big shame for Ribeiro, like you said, losing out a whole heap of points. How do you reset the confidence going into the third and final race of the evening?
I think the good thing for him is that the track and potentially car is changing, so that is always going to sort of just reignite the environment as such. If you go into the same car, same track, you don't forget what happened before. You keep that in your mind. Whereas when we go to something different, it's new, your brain's like, okay, let's just reset and go again. So hopefully we get a nice race there at Zolder for Ribeiro. I mean, he's still got the opportunity to go get pole and win the race, and then he'll still win 2 races on the evening, and that will still be a very successful night. So he needs to not let it get him down, but certainly it's a bit of a race to forget for him.
And he has been very good when it comes to the third and final races of an evening. Like I said, he's won the 2 previous ones. And the reason why I say it's quite important is because that means that he's good at adapting to the second circuit on the night. He's good at being like, right, okay, so we've done all of our races at Hockenheimring, and I've done, all right. Now we're going into the third race, take the victory. Did the exact same thing, raced at Estoril for 2 races where he did take one, fair enough, and then went into that final race and then took victory again around the iconic Donington Park circuit in that 25-minute race. So the chances are high that he is going to bounce back quite nicely.
You'd hope so, because for him, if he loses a big chunk of points again here for Farkash, that is going to add up quite a lot. We were 4 points separated before the evening. Of course, there was only 1 position difference, so a little small swing after the first race. So keeping it nice and close, and now all of a sudden, boom, there's going to be a lot of points in between them from where they finished with Farkash up in P5. So we really need to see how it's going to work. Because again, if Farkash just finishes in the top 3, top 5 again, even if Ribeiro wins, he's not really going to care because he already gained his points on the evening on average. So Farkash can have a bit of a chill one, although by the looks of it, he definitely wants to keep the battles going.
Well, we've only got a couple of minutes before qualifying starts, so it's always a good time when we've switched between circuits and we're building up into the second one of the evening to actually have a little bit of a closer, in-depth look at it. And Luca Keita, once again, has been very busy behind the scenes to bring you this look at Circuit Zolder.
Hey guys, and welcome to a new round here of the RSTC. We're at Zolder, and I'm going to show the track guide. We're approaching it and one braking under that banner there on the start of the straight, going here on the curb back to the left side shortly after the 100-meter boundary brake, shifting down the gears, taking midway line in that regard, then following here to the curb, to the outside, preparing this fast right-hander, shifting down into 4th gear, taking the curb here on the inside, and now try not to hit the gravel here on the exit. Coming in for that fast chicane shortly after the 100-meter boundary start the brake, cut of course a lot here, and over this curve as well. Not too much, that was a little bit too much, going over that hill here. Keeping the car here on the left side is really important. Braking shortly before the curb and make now the big curves here to our advantage. In the regard that we cut a lot, following from curb to curb, here to the outside, stay in the outside, go to the inside, and move back to the curb, staying closely on the left, preparing the big hairpin coming up. Shortly after the 100-meter boundary brake again, taking wider line so that we have a good exit, following here on the curb, on this curb. Now focusing on the last 2 corners. Shortly after the 100-meter boundary, start braking again, slipping not too much of the curb here on the inside, back to the right side, there a little bit more, and here on the outside. Take the full curve and already adding here the left round shoulder. Really nice short circuit, and yeah, good luck racing for the week and hope you enjoy it.
It's a fun track, this one, but not one that maybe sees the biggest overtaking opportunities, Cam. So qualifying here in the 10-minute session will be very important indeed. We are underway for qualifying. One thing that's thankful of this circuit versus AVUS, though, a little bit bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And so is the session. So, of course, we go to a longer race, but it's also a longer qualifying. So they'll get effectively an extra lap or so in. So even though they've had limited practice potentially on this circuit, they'll be able to potentially get their times in. But look how much bigger this track is, both in the width, in terms of the length, every single portion of it. Although this is quite a small track in the grand scheme of things, but I can see we're going to be cutting chicanes at both tracks tonight. But yeah, it's certainly a lot bigger than AVUS and a completely different challenge. So for the drivers, a little bit of a wake-up call as you go back to a Grand Prix style track.
Yeah, indeed, especially the first of the those chicanes. You can. Whether it's legal or not, you're able to cut the inside quite a bit of the second part of it, but you've got to be careful in doing so. I'm sure there's track limit warnings in position for doing so. Into the hairpin they go, through the almost basically non-existent chicane, and then into the final left-right, which is quite tricky. It's actually, all the parts I say, it's the one that I really cannot deal with, that final chicane. Have you ever done the fast chicane here?
I have. I did it in an F1 car as well, and it was
Now that's
absolutely
mean.
ludicrous. It was absolutely ludicrous. Well, I've never done it in like in a proper setting, but yeah, that final chicane is the worst part of the track. Absolute worst. There's no flow. The first chicane, the
horrible,
first
yeah.
apex, is way too tight. You sort of come back on yourself a little bit. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, indeed. If you ever listen to our WTCR esports coverage, James Kirk, me and him, 10 years ago round here, we had a bit of beef on track around this circuit. He squeezed me off the road. I kept my foot in. That's all I'll say on the matter. As we
Such a Lewis McGlade statement.
Oh
my God.
I saw the crash happening. I did not.
You get
slow
so
down.
hot-headed when you
What
race.
do you mean? That's
Oh
not
my
true.
God.
That
Oh
is
my
not
God.
true. I'm a
I
very
wish I
calm
saw you
individual.
racing in your prime. I came unfortunately a couple of years too late, but it sounds fun.
Well, for those watching, for those taking part, not quite.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing that we're talking about it now, because it's a little bit like that as well, to be honest, back in the day. Certainly got into a few argy-bargies that probably could have been avoided, but you know. That's
I
racing.
think if we'd have actually raced against each other back in the day, we would not be getting along right now.
we wouldn't be friends.
Either way, the updated BOP, of course, BOP different for others than it is for Zolder, so you can see some slight changes. Weight's been reduced on the BMW, for example. The Audi, still a hefty big boy though. Whether that will change some drivers' approach as to what car they're picking for this one, I can see still quite a lot of BMWs out there. Lloyd Biddulph, though, has binned off the fridge to take on the legendary Audi. I think Pascal Jean Petra has also binned off, sadly. I think he's still in the Vectra.
Yes, he is, which is good to see. I am surprised in some ways about the Audi, but I guess if it works, it works. A lot of BMWs, though. A lot of BMWs out there, which is good to see, because there was a couple of rounds ago that basically no one used a BMW, and it was all about the Audi. So it really depends, circuit to circuit, where you get the tiniest advantage here and there. I think the front or like the four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive situation is going to be quite a big thing there. With those sort of long exits like we get here, you kind of want a rear-wheel drive car really to rotate it.
Yeah, indeed. What will it be like, though, when we go to Silverstone for the final round of the major part of the season before we get to that season finale, of course, next month? Running classic and new once more. That'll be exciting. I quite like both Silverstones. I think classic and new. I maintain I think new Silverstone's still absolutely fine.
Yes, it is. I feel like it's a little bit long for the for the smaller cars, though. So I am looking forward to what is going to happen in terms of the classic one, because I think classic is slightly more preference overall. But yeah, the new GP layout is very good indeed. We've got a lot of purple times out there, by the way. There's a couple of double purples. Got Maurice Lerner here, for instance. Filippo as well. Now towards the line, can Lerner nick that pole position? He's got to gain 0.3 of a second. He gains 4 and goes to the front.
Yeah, Enzo Filippo going faster in the first sector already. Lucas Muller now up towards the line, still improves, goes on to provisional pole position, drags it a couple of tenths clear of Maurice Lerner and Enzo Filippo. And behind that comes Lloyd Biddulph as well. Purple, first and second. Enzo Filippo improving once more. Wan Shi Lin improving. Cody Nikolakowski, 5th and 6th position. Andrea Percy now through the final corner. What can Filippo do?
Well, he's very tight through that middle sector, but he's got a nice clean run actually up towards the final corner. So he's had basically a clean lap. Got to get it slowed down, really get the rotation there. Tiny bit up in the air on 2 wheels. Get the power down to the ground. It's gone green though, because someone else out there has gone fast. Ribeiro, 0.3 at the front. That is pretty crazy. 0.4 a bit off in third, but Filippo goes in the middle and up into second.
Ribeiro's final sector must have been very good. To fair, the lap was very, very good to go 0.3 clear. Lloyd Biddulph, who we're looking at here in the Audi. Just going to say now, all the Audi liveries. Why that one? Yellow.
He's going to be spotted.
Very much so. Yellow's a good colour when used sparingly.
You mean not just plastered over 80% of the car?
Well, yeah, no, that's not a vibe. Ribeiro continues to improve though, and his chances of winning yet another third race on the evening seem to be increasing by the second. Where's his main championship rival though? After retirement from the previous race, he's looking fantastic. Vince Farkas yet to get a time onto the board, is in the first sector at the moment. I'll update you as to whether his sector time's actually improving on Ribeiro's current lap, which is looking mightily impressive.
And Ribeiro clean through this section of the track as well. So he's really enjoying the car out there today. Unfortunately, just had a little bit of a mishap as we came through. The sort of the mid part of the previous race at AVUS, but lovely out of the final corner. Surely this is going to be putting himself even further ahead at the front. It's 2.5 tenths at this moment in time, and across the lines 3.5 tenths. That is an awesome improvement, and that's going to be a big job for someone to overcome.
And Benz Farkas, who's taking on the Honda Accord in this race. Good to see him in that, by the way. Couple of tenths off in the first sector versus Ribeiro. There is the Honda in the hands of the championship leader. But at least based on those sector times, it's not looking like it's a brilliant choice right now.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out well for him, didn't he, back at the Hockenheim ring. So I wonder if he's going to be, potentially a little bit of comfort, let's say, trying to get back into it. He wouldn't have chosen it if it's going to be slow, though. That is the one thing. If another car's faster, you just take the faster car. Up towards the line, what is it going to be? 27th place at this moment in time. He's going to jump up to 6th, solid, but he's 3/4 of a second off.
Indeed. Hazelwood, now we take a look still behind the wheel, of course, of the Volvo, as he did AVUS. Impressive first couple of races, and again, I'm sure the fan base that's pretty loud in chat will be supporting Nathan Hazelwood. Fastest first sector, though, has just come in from Enzo Filippo. 7 thousandths of a second faster as John Petra's session comes to a close. Final laps, basically, for everyone now, as Cody Nikolakowski goes to second.
Yes, and Filippo in third as purple sectors. Lucas Müller up towards the front, still 3 tenths off, by the way. But look how close it is behind for that top 5 positions. This is really good. I want to see what Filippo does, because he's gone purple in the middle sector as well. We'll have to wait 30 seconds till he comes up towards the final line. Hazelwood, though, next across the line. He's P17. He is improving, though. Any places up in towards the top 10, maybe P10 it's going to be.
Yeah, now you can see a little bit of contact up ahead of that. Fair enough. Look at the clean air ahead of Enzo Filippo. Now, I think this lap time is almost certainly going to second position, but can it steal away provisional pole position? Can it take it off of Ribeiro? Is he strong enough in the final sector? Enzo Filippo races his way up towards the line, does move into second spot, but the final sector from Ribeiro is just too strong. It looks as though the driver who's won the 2 race 3s so far this season is in position to take yet another pole position.
He's so strong, isn't he? And that is why that one race at AVUS could be very crucial for the championship. He's got the pace to win it. And with Farkas struggling down in P8, there might be a big point swing back in his favour, but he's got to do it in the race once more.
Yeah, these feature races, they work out well for Ribeiro. He seems to get that track change. He's clearly very fast at adapting into the circuit. But look at that margin. Enzo Filippo, great lap time to go in a second spot, but still half a tenth off of Ribeiro. Müller, Latkovsky, of course. Then you've got Biddulph, Milana, Lerner. Then Benz Farkas in only 8th position. He's going to be hoping that Honda's a good race car. One thing that will help at least a little bit here, not a very long run down into T1.
Certainly. So even if you get a bit of a bad start, you might be able to hold on to your position. It's a weird turn 1 here, though. It's a super late apex, but it's really wide as well. It's proper odd, actually. I don't know who designed that corner, but it's not very regular. As you see, it's a fairly decent run, but it is a lot shorter than most other circuits. So let's see. Ribeiro's had a good start. Remember, he jumped from 3rd to 1st back at AVUS, so he definitely knows what he's doing at the starts here.
It's also extremely wide. You can tell that by how far apart the cars are on the grid. An incredible distance left to right. I mean, that's wider than I thought it would be.
You could fit about 5 cars wide there, 5 rows wide, if we wanted to add some more drivers to the grid.
We'll be getting that 5 wide, I'm sure, down into T1 and maybe even down into T2, because as much as turn 1 happens, it's a flow into the second corner on the track as well. So Ribeiro's on pole position, his championship rival and the championship leader's down in 8th, but so many other drivers on the grid vying for a victory. A poor start, though, from Cody Nikolakowski from 4th position. Just a terrible reaction to the line as Lucas Muller will take over 3rd position. Latkovski, Lloyd Biddulph going side by side with Antika Ramalana as they head their way through the opening corner. No major drivers behind, with the exception of maybe Nicholas Rydell.
Now what a lovely flowing section to open this lap, these long apex corners, but it doesn't stop there because you get another one onto the back straight. Who is going to get the run to have a bit of a dive down in towards the chicane for the first time of asking? I'm sure they're going to be absolutely sending it over the curbs here, but are they going to be sending it on each other? Looks like everyone is staying nice and calm, actually, single file through that point, but now maybe you get the run down in towards the Villeneuve chicane.
It was better from Filippo through that chicane than Ribeiro. Yeah, I did feel, but I think he's been slightly faster into this section as Ribeiro. But Filippo's trying to go with and trying to make himself the 4th different winner of the season. Of course, we've only ticked off a minute, so this would basically be already completing the opening lap back in AVUS. That's how quick those lap times were around there. Bit of side-by-side behind as it's Lloyd Biddulph trying to go on the attack here, but has been opened up a touch as Moritz Lerner was having a look. Straight off the line was Wan Chi Lin trying to keep Lichtenhagen at bay.
It's funny how we go to the different circuits, but quite a few of the same drivers go back to the front, as even, you change in the same evening. It's trying to spice up a bit, but the good drivers come to the front as Moritz Lerner there is dropping down with his battle with Farkash as they go side by side on the exit of the final corner. Latkovski and Maulana as well battling in towards turn 1. We are 2 by 2. There's Maulana up the inside, and it looks like Latkovski is going to lose another place to Biddulph. Maybe 2 places lost there for the black BMW.
Yep, indeed, Lloyd Biddulph in the Audi now trying to get to the outside left, the door open potentially for Bence Farkash to come through. Farkash maybe potentially a little bit worried about that BMW of Moritz Lerner directly behind as they head their way through 3, then into 4. Really important corner to nail the exit of to carry that run down into the chicane, because as much as it is incredibly fast, I promise you, it is an overtaking opportunity down there, but it is more because of the runoff of turn 4.
Absolutely. So the momentum is so important down there. It's not the longest straight in the world, but it's still enough. If you make a mistake, you will be losing a position, as we continue to see Farkash here in the Seoul Honda Accord down in towards the Villeneuve chicane. Such an undulating chicane. You see it really dips into each of the apexes, and then got to get the run out of this corner. A very flowing track indeed. As mentioned, you've got to have a lot of confidence in your car. Oh, Villacravi's dropping down. Everyone's going past him. That is carnage as he goes to the back of the field.
Yeah, for the second time this evening, Villacravi not having a particularly good race. He didn't have a good one in the opening race of the evening. Meanwhile, Wan Chi Lin and Nathan Hazelwood going into battle. Hendrik Lichtenhagen as well in tow. Christian Orban, Patrick Chari, Pascal Jean-Petre as well keeping tow. Jean-Petre, of course, remaining in the Opel Vectra. Jean-Petre in the Vectra. Yeah, it kind of works. As they're still side by side between Lin and Hazelwood. Off the corner, though, it's going to be in favour of the Chinese driver.
Certainly will, who's loving this BMW so far this season, and now he's got it once again down the inside line. But you see how late that apex is, and then they run out wide towards the gravel. He's got a little bit of a train behind him after the little sort of wiggle there. He's lost a 2.5 seconds to Lerner up ahead. There's a lot of drivers in behind as they're trying to go through this super fast corner. And look at the train. It's 8 drivers, I think, in this train, as they are all putting pressure on Lin to try and not make another mistake. Gravel is being thrown up into the air as they try to push as hard as they can, but not the hardest braking zone into this corner, but it is all about the flow up the next straight.
One thing that has been unfolding in the same way that it has done in the previous 2 feature races we've had. Ribeiro has checked out, nearly 2 seconds clear of Enzo Filippo, the driver who is looking to really take control of this championship despite the retirement in the previous race, is bouncing back exactly as you would expect. Big slide from one of the cars directly behind. I'm not sure exactly who that was. I think it was Steph Kramer's in that black BMW, having a big old slide coming out of that second chicane.
And that was beautiful. And the other black BMW up towards the front, Latkovski has lost a place. Biddulph goes through. in the yellow submarine, and he's making this four-wheel drive Audi work, and he's certainly been actually quite fast today. Been up there batting well inside the top 10, and this is another one. So there's Ribeiro going through, then we've got Filippo and Müller, and then of course Maulana, but then we see Biddulph as he's now up into P5. He has got just over a second to the Indonesian up ahead of him, but can he try and hold off? Because the issue is Lakowski, he's looked pretty racy today, maybe not race-winning pace, but he's certainly got the race-winning moves.
Yeah, happy to get the elbows out a little bit is the Macedonian driver of Cody Nikolakowski that we ride on board with. But Lloyd Biddulph will go full attack through this chicane to try and close down a little bit on Andika Maulana. Over to the right-hand side they go. Dab of the brakes. The only thing with that Audi is it does need to brake a little bit earlier. Going into it, of course, it is all-wheel drive. It hasn't helped him there. Maybe a little bit too aggressive, and here comes Cody Nikolakowski. You said about those potential race-winning moves. If he had the pace, if he was up there with Ribeiro, and he would have put one of those on. Yeah, that takes a lot of bravery to get around the outside of that left-hander to be full sendy right there. Cody Nikolakowski is brilliant.
Yeah, perfect example, as you say. He's definitely got the moves in the bag. And Biddulph needs to try and return the favour once more, but Farkash is in behind. And of course, Maurice Lerner in the orange machine as well. So four-way battle. Oh, big slide. Actually, that might have been intentional as he came onto the exit, but it was a very early on the power, way too early. I mean, he was halfway through the corner that he was sliding. And now Biddulph is looking down the inside. He doesn't have the top speed, but who does is Farkash on the outside. That causes Biddulph to brake a little bit later, but makes the apex nicely indeed. So that just shows you how one mistake can have a bit of a chain reaction, but they stayed in the same positions at least for now, up towards turn 1. Look, it's so inviting up the inside here, but you've got to be patient and make it to the apex.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, patience is a surprising amount when driving these cars around circuits like this. These cars do require, as much as, you know, that old classic style, you almost expect them to be very aggressive and elbows out, but you kind of do need to have that whilst also being patient behind the wheel. Jan Stanger now with the door open for Christian Orban, going for the up and under. Is there going to be the move ticked off here potentially by Christian Orban? We've also got Pascal Jean-Petre sat behind, ready to pounce. Still not quite there. Of course, the lone Opel Vectra on the grid now.
As he has the inside line there in towards the chicane. Oh, he goes way too deep. He was 2 car widths wide going over that chicane. Fortunately, they got the green bit of tarmac, not the gravel initially. So he's actually going to use that momentum to hold on to the position in the background. Steph Kramer's up the inside, has to back out of that one. So Jean-Petre holds on, or Stanger, I should say, holds on. But that is, yeah, not the most legal move I've seen.
No, I think there might have been a little bit of an abuse of track limits there from Pascal Jean-Petre. Not a steward, so don't quote me. Just with my eyes from this distance, I think there might have been a little bit of open interpretation as to what you can use on the track. But alas, I'm sure that will be dealt with post-race. We head back up to Hendrik Lichtenhagen. He's got Patrick Chari directly behind, trying to find that move in the Audi.
Indeed, as we are getting a little bit closer towards the midpoint of this race, this longer race, of course, more opportunity for mistakes like that one from Lichtenhagen, currently in P11, which is a solid result for him as it stands, but Chari's looking racy in that Audi. Certainly the Audi does have some pace despite that big weight, and has got to it. We've got Biddulph up the inside, up at the top, and up the inside goes Chari, right inside the rear bumper of the BMW, loses some momentum though down this straight.
Couldn't get really much closer, could you? My goodness, that was right onto the rear end as they now flick it through the opening chicane, and Lichtenhagen doing a great job to keep Chari at bay, as Chari's going to be very close by the time they get on the brakes here. But of course, no move is open up there, and that's just one of those circuits. If you don't make a mistake, there isn't really going to be a big move incoming. But it's one of those ones where it's such a difficult circuit. It does invite those mistakes, especially in that first chicane.
Yeah, you have a few stop-start sections like we're just coming up to, but for the most part, it is flow. It is a momentum-based track. So yeah, you're not really going to get the huge sends as you don't have the, the opportunity. When it's a stop-start track, you have a big acceleration, big brake, big acceleration, big brake to make the move. But when it's flowing, you don't have the speed differential or the potential really. But let's see if the drivers can make something work. There are still a good few opportunities around this circuit. And it looks like Lekowski is holding on, at least in this battle for now. Bidulph is holding on from Farkash in behind. So Farkash is made up one place from qualifying, but he's going to be losing a good few points to Ribeiro. Obviously not the same that Ribeiro lost in the second race, but still it is going to come back in the favour of the Portuguese overall for recovering the points that he's lost.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing here, is that it's always been the race threes where Ribeiro obviously he's won, so he's taken out some of that points margin. He's looked stronger. He's eaten into that gap a little bit of Ben's Farkash. That's the one where he can highlight of like, this is the bit that I need to improve on, the quick adaptability, the jumping into a new circuit and gelling with it a little bit better. However, the solace is that Ribeiro had such a terrible race in the previous one that this round has still been a relative success. So it's not one that I would particularly worry about if I was in Ben Farkash's boots. But still, there is the chance to pick up a few more points, and the lone Honda Accord on the grid could be finishing this race in the top 5 as able to find his way past Lloyd Bidulph and Cody Nikola-Latkovsky.
Yeah, the main issue is that there's a big gap between Milana and Latkovsky, so that's the best he's going to do in this race unless anything crazy happens ahead. But he's not going to be worried about that. As you say, solid points all around, and Bidulph has got a run on Latkovsky down towards the first corner. He's going to have the inside line. Is he going to be brave enough to make a move? He's going to be outside for Latkovsky. Such a wide track, he's got the space. He's going to get the up and under. That will be the outside, though, for turn 2, which is not an ideal situation to be in. Bidulph keeps that move stuck as well. So that is a lovely sequence of corners to get himself that position, but it is not over yet. Flashing of the lights from Latkovsky, I think more so to put off. I think that was a lovely move from Bidulph. No complaints from that side.
Yeah, indeed, they head their way through 4 and out onto this mid-stretch as they run past the back end of the paddock down into the second chicane, and there is the side-by-side. The Honda Accord has got there. Ben Farkash is sending it. He's going to keep it coming within trail limits. I think that was a great move again from Ben Farkash. Cody Nikola-Latkovsky dropping back down the order a little bit here as Ben Farkash is able to work his way through into 6th position.
And the issue is when you have these little battle packs, and I say it's momentum-based track, you lose your momentum, and unfortunately you go back more than one place, and that's a perfect example. Farkash offline through the first couple of corners, and Latkovsky offline through the first couple of corners, and Farkash took that opportunity and was able to get back through in the, up into P7. So that is really good, and let's see. I mean, look at that once again. Lock in the front, slide in the rears. Latkovsky's being aggressive as its pros, but it also has its cons.
Yeah, indeed. Especially in the slightly longer races. Tyre overheating can be a little bit of a thing, especially in those real doors. It's not really going to be a major problem, but it is something to highlight potentially. Battle for second position then. It's Enzo Filippo, it's Lucas Muller, it's Andika Ramalana as well. You said there's a big gap between that battle for 5th position and up to this battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Unless something happens. Now, they're involved in a fight. There's still half of the race left to go. Something might happen here, Cam.
Yeah, unfortunately he's gone out to over 4 seconds though, behind. So, it does need to be something big, but you never know because these are also 3 aggressive drivers, to be honest. Milana, Muller and Filippo. Unfortunately, they're separated by a few car lengths, so no direct battles on there, but they are trying their best to chase down Ribeiro, but Ribeiro's just been so strong and consistent, just slowly, bit by bit, 10th by 10th, pulling away out the front with his consistency.
On board with Muller, you get the real speed through this middle sector of the circuit when you go through that left-hander. And he cut across the chicane as well, so he was taking a little bit too much speed with there. That chicane, you can really do that on that second part, like fly straight over the inside of it. I'm pretty sure that's where you picked up half of our instant points in the.
Excuse me.
2023 was it?
None of that,
22,
please.
Was it 22? Which year was it? The race for mental health. Do you remember the charity race we took part in? Yeah,
I think it must have been 22. I don't think it was 23, so it must have been 22. Yeah, that was a good fun race, actually. You know, we've probably said it before, but, you know, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to realise your car's been DNF'd is it's always a good one.
look, I didn't crash it. You lot all crashed it. So you know, I was a perfect driver. Chari looks to the inside. Don't bring up Spark. Chari's to the inside and trying to make the move on Hazelwood. 410 vision, and he's gone round. Sorry, it was Lichtenhagen rather, and he's gone round as Henrik Lichtenhagen. He's dropping right the way down the order. Thankfully, I have no damage from that, but still, it wasn't ideal.
Yeah, he turned left, went over the curb, bounced up in the air, and therefore could not turn back right. And as soon as it landed, the car was all loose, and unfortunately that spun the car around. And that's an annoying few places to lose as well at an important time in the race, because the gaps are spread out a little bit. It's going to be difficult to get multiple of those places back, as it is so tight out there on the track. Let's see another potential move, as we got Lerner here trying to get through on Lakovsky, and this is 47.
Great line there from Lerner. Take a little bit of that first curb, take a bit more of the second one. Gets you on power nice and early as he sits right on the rear end of Kodanik and Lakovsky. He's trying to find his way back through on the Honda Accord of Benz Farkash. Snap of oversteer on the exit of the second chicane there. Lloyd Biddulph has pulled out 1.5 seconds on this battle, and it seems as though a top 5 might be slipping through the fingers of the championship leader. And Farkash maybe find his way up to the rear end of Lloyd Biddulph. Done a great job to work his way up into 6th position. Put on some good moves in doing so. That final spot might be a little bit out of reach, and I agree with you. Basically everything past that is way out of reach unless there's drama ahead.
Which can certainly happen in this championship. We've seen it before. Double lockup there for Farkash as he works his way in towards the final chicane. But he comes out there nicely, actually, in the end. Didn't really cost him that much time, but Biddulph is gone. So that P5 position is pretty solid for that Audi. He certainly had a lot of pace, and once he was able to get through, the battles with Farkash and Lakovsky obviously helped him just pull out a little bit of a gap. Up towards the front, though, Ribeiro by 4 seconds is your race leader once more. Look at that. Best lap, a 35.995, and not even a 10th shy on his last lap.
Which kind of reminds me, do you remember Donington Park? How brutally consistent he was in that 25-minute race, in the feature race back there. Very similar drive thus far, has just basically every single lap time has been the same as the last, the same as the last, same as the last. And not only doing that, I will say, doing that once you're in the flow is quite impressive, and it's really good, and it's just a consistent driving of it. But it's doing that whilst also being the fastest basically every single time. That's the impressive part. The risk that's being taken. Very similar as well to the opening race of the evening.
Definitely. It's pretty crazy, actually, the quality of that. I mean, that's some skill right there, but that's also some practice and some muscle memory. So I definitely respect it. When you get into that flow and the car, just everything feels right. You're hitting every apex, hitting every braking zone. It's quite something, and it doesn't happen very often. And as you see, it only, in quotation marks, only really gains you 3-4 seconds over the race, but that is very important. And this is a good example as to why, maybe in an endurance race, the gaps go up and down, because if you're consistent like this, that is where you gain your time, not by being half a second a lap faster.
Defensive line comes in from Lucas Muller. There goes the up and under from Andika Raul-Molana. Fantastic move at turn 2. Will it be returned though at 3? They head their way through the right-hander down towards 4. Another right-hander. It keeps going right and keeps going right and keeps going right. The up and under is going to be attempted once more from the Indonesian driver, but he cannot get his way past Lucas Muller here. That was a great attempt at the up and under at T2.
There was a flash of the headlights on the entry there into turn 4. Very interesting from Lucas Muller, because from Molana was side by side, wouldn't have seen it. But certainly a little bit of body language there to say, like, yeah, look, mate, I've got this. Oh, huge send! Oh, that's not a send. That is a punt for Lucas Muller in the back. Molana pushing him off through the Villeneuve chicane, and hopefully Molana doesn't overtake here, because that would be very cheeky indeed after slowing him down. Yeah,
I think he's probably got to give it this corner. And then can go back on the attack, which is exactly what he's doing. Kind of make sure that you stay behind until you through this hairpin, and now everything's reset and you can go back on the attack. Just a little bit of a mistake there, a missed braking zone, slammed into the rear end. Look, he didn't go through. I think he could have gone through then. Could have Andika Raul-Molana. Obviously, it would have been an illegal move. I think he knows that, didn't do it. It's respect for racing. So in my mind, carry on. Off we go.
Yeah, definitely no harm, no foul in that regard, because yes, they've lost a bit of time to Filippo, but they're in the same order. They're, you know, the time separation is fine. It's just a tough battle out there. And I don't think Muller will be too displeased with that in the end, especially if he can hold on to it. But let's see how this battles go further back, because Moritz Lerner still stuck behind Latkovsky at this moment. He's trying the up and under himself, trying to get up the inside there. Through turn 3, just a little bit of a kink flat out with these drivers. Side by side, we're going to go up in towards turn 4, but no, Latkovsky dives it in there as Lerner backs out.
Yeah, indeed. Again, great battling here. Michel Latkovsky trying to keep Lerner at bay. Once again, tries to break that slipstream by pulling straight over to the right-hand side as they work their way down to the edge of the chicane. Maybe a little bit too hot on the way in, but it's worked out well for him. Lerner wasn't as committed going through that opening chicane. Still 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to go of the race, when it takes just under 100 seconds to complete a lap around here. We're realistically talking about 3 more laps at the line for them to navigate. Wittmers has caused a bit of a yellow flag a bit further down, and unfortunately losing a whole heap of positions courtesy of it. I think that would have been down at the first chicane.
Yeah, certainly not. We haven't really seen much of the backpack this race. Obviously, a lot less battles down there. AVUS was a bit nicer for the battling in that regard, but certainly those drivers still down there, still fighting for their points and their positions, because of course they want to get inside the top 30 in the championship to then be invited to the finale. So they are important positions for those drivers who have competed in all the events.
Yeah, indeed. So they take the slipstream down into T1 once more. They look for the moves once more down into T1, and they prepare themselves for 3 final laps around Circuit Zolder. Ribeiro is gone. Filippo is gone. The battle for the podium sees Muller versus Ramon Molana. Behind that, Bidoff has pulled out from Farkas, who had pulled out from Nikola Latkovsky and Lerner, but that gap has certainly closed its way back down as we head through the chicane once more. Dab on the brakes, flick it left, flick it right once more. Just not quite the run required for Andika Ramon Molana.
But we know he likes a bit of a send, a bit of a heavy braking, and of course slight concertina effect, but he does close up a little bit through the Villeneuve chicane. Oh, gets a bit of a wiggle on though through that second apex, maybe a little bit too much curb, loses a few centimeters, and that is crucial in how close these battles are. Down in towards the next braking zone though, at some point he does have the door open. Muller's not defending, but he decides to save it for now. But I think at one point before the end of the race, look how aggressive he's being. I think he's going to do it.
That he's definitely going to get an opportunity to do it. That's the important bit. Whether it actually is a completed move, whether it is a clean move, slightly different. But there is going to be an opportunity. 2 more laps left to go around here. That is not a great line from Lucas Muller. And here we go. Here is the opportunity down to the first corner. How many corners will this last for? We've seen the up and under attempted from Andika Ramon Molana earlier on in the race at turn 2. Squeeze down into that first turn. Lucas Muller's going to run out wide here.
Certainly does, and he's going to hold on of that inside, and Milan actually slightly backs out of that one as well, tries to get the up and under through turn 3. Oh, then Muller covers that one off, cuts straight to the inside of the circuit, and is able to keep that position. What a battle between these guys. Milan's trying everything he can, but Muller, such good defense at this moment in the race, down towards the next braking zone. Looks pretty calm actually, does Lucas Muller there on the driver cam. Not the chicane to overtake now, but can there be any sort of momentum shift in the way of Milana? No, Muller just gets through there nicely.
Thought he went a little bit deep there, but it was also because Andika Ramon Molana turned in a touch early and absolutely slammed the curb on the left-hand side of that chicane. Ribeiro, whoa, big slides from the pair of them. It was a slightly large slide from Muller, and then Andika Ramon Molana one-upped him. Looked like Formula Drift there on the exit of the second chicane.
Yeah, loves it. I mean, he does go racing, as I said, in his real life E36, but on the racetrack in the sim, you can get away with some liberties a little bit more as we come up to the final minute of the evening. Hard defense to the left-hand side for Muller. Back to the outside, though, so that's going to open up the door once more. So he does a little bit of a weird half-line through that final chicane. He's going to go wide. Milana's going to get the run up the inside, but who gets the momentum down the front straight?
Yeah, as much as he was a little bit wide there on the defence, a little bit too deep, where he was rejoining, just kind of awkwardly in the line for Andika Ramon Milana, who couldn't quite do it there. Is he going to be able to do it here? Deep on the brakes once again goes Muller. Is there going to be the up and under from Milana? Not quite yet. Going to have to do it once again here at T2. Going to try and go all the way around the outside. That one's not going to work.
Certainly not, as we're on to the final lap, final opportunity through these corners. Big defence to the inside for Muller once more. Comes back to the racing line to try and get the run that he needs. Trying to work out if there's quite enough for Milana here. He's got an opportunity. Is this the move?
This could be it. He goes to the right-hand side going into the chicane. He's going to try full send. Is Muller going in deep, or is it going to be perfect? It is perfect. Superb battling between Muller and Roman Milana for the final step on the podium. What other opportunities are left?
This is an amazing battle. How did Muller get the run that he did out of the chicane there? Because he was on an awkward line on that inside, but if anything, he got a better exit, just smooth over the curbs. And really, this is Milana's penultimate opportunity down here. Is it going to be enough, or does he need to set up for the final corner?
It's going to be set up. It's short. That's the only thing that he can do right now. Into the final chicane as they're side by side for third position. We'll come back to that in a second, because across the line it's going to be Ribeiro. The perfect comeback story after retirement in the previous. Ribeiro will cross the line to win. Filippo will be second, with this fantastic battle for third position. We'll just about see Lucas Muller come out on top. We'll hide him behind the graphic, but we didn't miss anything, don't worry. There was no move. Lucas Muller is able to keep Roman Milana at bay after a thrilling fight here at Circuit Zolder.
I love those final couple of laps with those two drivers battling it for a podium place. Milana tried everything, but in the same car, same equipment out there on the track, he had to do it himself, and he tried everything he could. He got the up and under a couple of times, but Muller put his car perfectly. That is why he is the champion that he is, especially on RaceRoom with DTM Esports. So definitely a great driver to have on the grid, and in the end, rounds out the evening with a podium.
Indeed, and let's take a look at those provisional race results then. Ribeiro, Filippo, Muller, Roman Milana, that fantastic fight for third position. Lloyd Biddulph in fifth, with Bence Farkash there in sixth position, so a decent recovery drive in the Honda Accord. Cody Nikolakowski in seventh, was able to keep Lerner at bay. Wan Shi Lin, there was no wall on the inside of turn one, so he didn't hit it, so it's fine. And Nathan Hazelwood inside the top 10. Great start to the championship for him. Patrick Chari, Pascal Jean-Petre with Jan Stanger, then Orban, Kramers, Persai, and then, of course, Peter Daniel, Hendrik Lichtenhagen, Dirk Natz, and Florian Spiegel in 20th position. Jonas Riedel will be in 21st, with Vinieri repping the Alpha this evening, with Wittmers, then Ardey, Sen, Cravey, Riedel again, then Gretschel, and of course the retirements from Trumpet and Elliott. Great night of racing, very exciting indeed, but Ribeiro, for the third consecutive night in a row, will win the third race.
And that is very important. He lost a lot of points there in the middle race of the evening. So the fact that he's come back with race win number 3, or race win in number 3, is very important, because points wise, of course, he lost a lot in the second race. Farkash had an awkward race there, so he's got some back, but I still think it is going to be advantage Farkash coming into that final round. Of course, the issue for Farkash is that if Ribeiro then goes and wins a couple of races, especially race 3 next time out, that could be the race that decides the championship. And if Ribeiro is going to be strong, if Ribeiro is going to be strong in the final race of the season, Farkash is going to come out swinging in the first 2.
Well, the final race of the main season, we still have the season finale to deal with after that, of which the circuits are not announced yet. Again, we can see that there. So we've got rounds 1 through 4. And then, of course, we have that season finale on the 20th of September. Should be an exciting one. Those secret circuits, obviously, we can only wonder as to what we'll be doing, but our focus really has to be in a couple of weeks' time when we go racing at Silverstone. Should be a fun race, potentially a couple of dramatic ones. Not sure which layouts to do. I'm assuming we're probably running national on both, but I'm not race control. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say that, because obviously classic and modern Silverstone, but there's so many layouts on both variants, so definitely interested to see how that is going to unfold, because I think from the big GP track, be a very interesting race for these cars because they're a little bit slow, especially the modern Silverstone. They're a bit slow for the full track. So that can potentially change things quite a bit because there'll be sort of 4 or 5 long straights there. So the car choice will be very, very important.
And of course, running the classic, even if we're on the national, obviously we probably will be. We get to see Bridge Corner, which rest in peace. It is no longer with us. I drove past it again a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it is actually gone."
Probably one of the best corners.
Devastating,
Like
isn't it?
growing up, like that was like one of my favorite corners to watch. I guess obviously now you can find it on YouTube, but certainly
It's not the
that
same.
that sequence with the right hander under the bridge and in towards Priory as well. Such a good sequence of corners, so fast, so flowing, a little bit of banking almost to help you through there. So the fact that it's a karting track right now, that's what you said
Yep.
they built there. Bit of a good thing to get young drivers involved, but a shame to lose such an iconic corner.
Look, they're still building it. It's fine. But it is worth it because everyone will be like, well, no, they've not raced Bridge Corner for ages. No, they haven't. But it was
The
still
fact
there. I
it's
remember
gone.
I went there for MotoGP in 17, and it was like all of like the merch stands were on it. And I was like, this is actually sick. And now it's like, yeah, it's just a karting track, which is fine. I get it. But it is a bit sad still. It's cool. It looks like a cool karting track, to be fair, but it is sad. It's fine. Look, I'm salty. You're salty. It's all well and good. We get to relive it though in the world of sim racing until the end of time.
We certainly do, and that's the whole point of this championship is to bring back things that we can't do in real life anymore. Obviously with the cars, but also the tracks as well. And I love that, to be honest. And it's been a great championship so far. I think the battle between Farcash and Ribeiro is going to go down to the wire, and Silverstone is going to really set us up for the final as well. And as I say, so in that race, obviously it's other drivers as well battling to get inside the top 30 to get their place there as well. So for those drivers in the midfield, they've got to make sure that they are keeping themselves because obviously it's no leaderboards for the final race.
Exactly. We do. We're just hanging on, so we can see if we can get an interview with someone, but no one's joined. We do also have all of the updates on each of the individual little championship bits that we've got to talk about, because of course it's not just the main championship. You get prizes for pole positions and such. Spence Farcash, by the way, as I've been chatting, has just joined for a little bit of a natter with the pair of us. So we'll catch up with him in just a few moments' time. Curious to get what his opinion would be after what was I wouldn't say a tricky evening, but it wasn't an evening which saw him at the high speeds of the previous round.
Yeah, certainly not quite the same. I mean, he was still second in the first race. He then got pole in the second race as well. So he definitely knows what he's doing. And also, when he lost out pole in the first race, it was only about 2,000th of a second. So he certainly had the speed. And I'm sure we're going to find out exactly what he thought of that.
Indeed, we are joined by Bence Farcash now, so we can catch up straight away. Bence, again, but difficult evening racing at AVUS, then flicking it over to Zolder. Seemed like there was a little bit of maybe a pace struggle at Zolder. Was the Honda Accord the right car to choose there? Was it maybe just practice? What's the dealio?
Hey guys, hello everyone. I was waiting someone to join you, but nobody. So yeah, thank you, of course, first of all. And yeah, the first 2 races was better for me. This third one was a disaster with the Honda. Actually, till yesterday evening, I thought it was a good choice because I had like lap times like 36.1 or 36.2, and the others go like that, so 36.2 and 3 and like that. But at maybe 11:30 last night, yesterday, Enzo and Thomas go with like, I don't know, with the BMW like 35.8 and 0.9, and I was like, oh mate. So yeah, it was a difficult choice, but I don't really had the time to make a good setup for that BMW, and to be fair, I don't know that car really well with the setup, so I didn't want to play the gamble game. So yeah, it was my car choice, it was my bad, and that's all. And cheers to the guys on the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you struggled in Zolder a little bit, but you didn't really struggle too much in AVUS. You seem to have really good pace there. And even in the first race, you lost out on pole position by a couple of thousandths of a second. So it's very good. How did you find that track? It was a little bit crazy for us to bring that back into some competitive esports. But how did you find that track after saying you had no experience there?
It was a quite difficult track, not because it was very complicated and technical, but because it has only 3 corners. I mean, if the chicane is 1 corner, it has only 3 corners, and you have to nail it every time. Because if you just lose a bit of space, you lose 10 centimeters there, then the other corner it's like 2/10 of a second. So it's very difficult and demanding, especially with those high curves on the chicane. And it was, as I saw, really tricky for others too. I had seen a lot of damage and collisions and everything. It was like a bit of bumping cars. So yeah, but I was fuming with Thomas with those 2. I don't know which was that seconds to. I don't know word. Like it's very, very tiny bit of time, but yeah, it was good. But the BMW has the ability to brake so much later and so much deeper in the corners, so it was a bit hard in the race. But in the quali it was good. And shout out to my teammate Christian Orban, who helps me with the tow in the first and second qualifications. So maybe I was like gaining there like 1 and 2 tenths of a second. So definitely helping a lot.
Well, Bence, thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Best of luck as well when we go to Silverstone.
Yeah, thank you very much. And please, someone kidnap Ribeiro. He's so quick. Thank you, guys.
I will do my best.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
We'll obviously say thank you to Bence, and we'll say goodbye until we go. So I'm sure we'll catch up with you a little bit later on. We are going to have a quick interview, though, with a couple of others. I'm going to start with Coach Nikola Latkovsky, who joins us in the interview room. I mean, look, couple of podiums back in AVUS to start out the evening. A solid result as well at Zolder. How do you rank your evening, and how are you finding these cars to race around this circuit?
Cheers, Lewis. I think I'm going to rate this evening 3 out of 10. I mean, finishing P3 in the first 2 races is obviously very, very satisfying. But the last race, it was leaving a lot to be desired, because unfortunately I selected the wrong setup, and I was at a disadvantage from the get-go. So look, it was a bit of a damage control. I'm happy with what I did at the start, but I really, really think I could have done something more in that final race at Zolder. Only regrets now and what ifs to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Lucas Müller, we got you here. Great to have you in this championship, by the way. Thanks for coming and joining and giving us some great racing this evening. I just want to speak firstly really about the that battle with Andika Raman Milana towards the end of that race at Zolder. What a battle. You're going side by side, you're defending, you were cutting to the inside. Just how much fun was that for you?
Yeah, first of all, like it was in general, like these cars, like it's super unnatural for a sim racer to drive like cars like these, because normally you always drive like the newer ones. So it was really good fun. And then obviously like with the battle with Maulana was very good too. I'm going to be honest, I think I overshot maybe some corners here and there a bit, because I didn't do too much practice before it. So I think at some points it could have been a bit cleaner, but in the end, I think both of us were quite happy with how the battle was and how it ended in the end. So yeah, can't complain too much. It was good fun, especially I was looking like I initially just signed up because I wanted to do a race on AVUS, because I never did that before, and that track really is something special. Like it was, like when you're going in quali and then you're looking back and then you just see some cars flipping. It's not something you see very often in esports competitions. So yeah, had a good laugh, was good fun. Had a nice chat with Moritz while driving, so can't complain about the evening.
Solid evening from the pair of you, and very entertaining. So thank you, both Cody and to Lucas as well, for jumping in, and best of luck in the future.
Yep. Thanks very much. Have a nice evening.
There we go. I'm sure we'll see them in the RaceRoom Super Touring Championship soon. But Cam, final opinions on the evening. What has been a very exciting run through AVUS and through Zolder.
Yeah, what an example for this championship. We brought back AVUS. We came to Zolder, which is a cool circuit, doesn't get used very often either. And we had some amazing battles out there. So we're just, a couple of weeks away from Silverstone, and then we go to the final. So it's getting towards that point of the season already, but really enjoying how it's going.
Yeah, so thank you to everyone who has joined us. Thank you to Karen Roger. I would say thank you to myself as well. That's really egotistical to say. So we'll say thanks to Chris instead, who did jump in for a little bit of a word earlier on, and of course has been bringing us this broadcast and doing a lot of work behind the scenes. So big thanks to Captain Coffee, and thank you to all of the drivers who have taken part on the leaderboards and who are racing this evening. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time when we head to the home of British motorsport for what will be, I'm sure, another chaotic evening of racing. Until then, though, have a very warm goodbye.